people who are looking to make money on the real estate side, saying, okay, here's a house that instead of selling it at maybe a crore, I'll sell it at a crore and 20 lakhs, and then I have nothing to do with you. Those are the dangerous type of players that hopefully shouldn't enter this. With me, the focus is on quality of relationship with my resident. So when that person goes in, I expect them to know everything about my resident. Their grandchild's favorite chocolate, the lady of the house, whether she likes Lysol or Harpic, whether she likes her pillows to be kept as diamond or a square. That person needs to know that. We have been told, now dad is old or mom is old, I have given a nurse, I have given a cook, I am an amazing kid. No, sorry, you're the worst kid in the world. And then he came to our manager and said, listen, I wake up at 4:45 in the morning. At 4:48, I need somebody to come and tie my shoe when I get on from my bed.
Oh shit.
And we're like, oh, sorry, we don't do that here, right?
My guest for today's episode is Adarsh. He's the founder of Primus Lifespaces. Hi Adarsh,
Hey.
Welcome on GameRoom.
Hi Swati, thank you for having me here.
So Adarsh, what are you trying to solve with Primus Lifespace?
So Swati, the thing that we're doing, if I have to compress it into one sentence, is we're trying to reduce the process of aging. We're trying to improve quality of life in our elders, because there is a fundamental difference between lifespan and health span. You know, we have traditionally been taught to focus on lifespan. Oh, lifespan is increasing every decade, people are living longer. But what we are forgetting to question is health span. Is health span really going up? Are people living longer because of hospitals, or are they living longer because their lifestyle has improved and they're healthier? So probably currently the answer is that hospitals are keeping our elders to live longer, and we're trying to change that. We're trying to make the hospital redundant to being just for surgeries, if at all. And then we're bringing in various philosophies around healthcare and around psychosocial care that would significantly improve quality of life of elders.
So if you can delve in detail as to what exactly do you guys do with elders for them to increase their health span and not the lifespan?
Absolutely. So I'm sure a lot of you may have read this book called Ikigai,
Yes.
right? It talks about, and for those who don't know what Ikigai is, there are these blue zones in the world. A blue zone is a community or village where the average age of the population is close to a century. So there was this researcher who was very curious to find out how is it that these places that are all around the world with different cultures, different food habits, different living conditions, the only common thing is they all live, greater than 100. And some of them are in Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa in Japan, Loma Linda in California, and things like that. And this researcher found 5 common things, right? And he found that the people have a strong sense of purpose. So every day they have some reason to wake up and do something that gives meaning to their life. The second thing is he found out that people are all physically active. They are all mentally active. They have a strong sense of community, and that they interact with nature. So the research showed that if these 5 things are high in people, the chances that they live longer with health span is greater. So what we're essentially doing is we are trying to bring in the principles of Ikigai into all our communities, right? So into a physical space. How can we give purpose to everybody? Somebody wanted to learn a new language. They were too busy bringing up their family. Somebody wanted to learn a musical instrument. It could be anything. Somebody wants to teach to an underprivileged child. So we're enabling all of these that would then give meaning to people, right? So we give them purpose. The next thing is physical activity. So simple things like having small walking groups. We have a physiotherapist on campus. We have various community activities. So this keeps them physically active. And we have games and activities throughout the day. So there is an events team that is dedicated to running activities in the community. And these would include right from, if there's an election, for example, which was recent, we'd have our own exit poll at our Primus community,
wow.
right? And the whole idea is people come and they argue and they bring their point of view. Our objective is we want them to go look at data, research, come back and, basically engage themselves mentally. So we do many such things. I just give you one simple example. So that is how we bring in, keeping the mind active. And then, of course, we encourage hobby gardening. We take our elders to nearby botanical gardens, forest walks, and things like that. We try to bring in the element of nature. And because people are in a setting, and every meal, for example, is a community activity, the community automatically gets built. Everybody develops their gang, and they hang out with their gang. And that's how we are bringing the principles of Ikigai. So this is the bucket of psychosocial care. Now, as much as psychosocial care is important, we have the other pillar, which is healthcare. Under healthcare, all of us have been conditioned to be reactive in our healthcare, right? We are not proactive. Something goes wrong, we go to a doctor, then we are prescribed some medicines that treat our symptoms. Again, we repeat the same cycle till the next set of symptoms show up, right? But what we do in our communities is we run a detailed healthcare plan wherein the moment a person moves into our community, we do a healthcare assessment and we do a physiotherapy assessment. So we would look at all of their blood markers, we'd look at their history of their surgeries, we'd look at various allergies that they have. And through the physiotherapy profile, we're able to tell, okay, what is their chance of falling down, how strong are their knees, how strong are their hips, what's their overall physical well-being. And then we put a score on that, or like a risk profile. And then we bucket our residents into different risk profiles, and we run care plans based on that. So essentially what we're doing is, because we do quarterly tests, we do annual tests. For example, CT angio, say once in a couple of years, would give a cardiac marker. Similarly, mental health tests would point to an early stage of dementia, wherein we can catch it in stage 1. And there are various, an oncology test, we can catch, cancer in stage 1. And anything that we can find earlier, we can cure, or we can extend, the disease. Like dementia in stage 1, if it's caught, we can extend health span and lifespan by 5 to 6 more years easily. But traditionally, we have been conditioned to think, old person, Buddha hai yaar, bhul jate hai. And then we give a nurse. That's like the worst thing that we can do. So essentially, under our proactive healthcare plan and under our psychosocial care, we believe that, we're improving quality of life. That's how we're doing it.
So, if I just look at my family, I personally feel that for me to move out of home and getting in a senior living community is an absolutely okay thing to do, because I neither I intend to live with my kids, or nor I have that kind of expectations that they are going to kind of eventually take care of me. But I still feel that India, the generation which is the senior generation in India, are very emotionally rooted to the fact that they want to stay with their kids. So abhi jo aapka TG hai, what kind of folks are availing this service, or kitna bada market hai India mein?
No, absolutely. It's a very important point that you've brought out. So if you look at the market size currently, but before I get to the market size, let me talk about the thing that there's a perception that ye to vruddhashram hai, or this is an old age home, or my kids are abandoning me. I think the easiest answer to this is to just come in and see any of the communities that people like us have developed, and then people will realize that this is a lifestyle choice. It's a choice for independence. It's a choice to buy convenience. And it's a choice where the lady of the house also gets to retire, not just the man of the house. And I think that's the easiest way. And with time, ultimately, convenience wins all, right? So this perception goes away as and when the education level increases. So for example, if I filter all our residents, or let me go one step back, all the people who considered buying with us, and then if I look at who bought with us, it's directly proportionate to education level. Because we are not in the business of push sale. We are not doing a deal. We are not selling a product at a cheaper price. We are solving a real problem. People understand the problem that we are solving for them. They research about it. They get convinced that, okay, this is something that I would like to be part of. And then they come and talk to us. And that again is directly based on education level. So it's very different from a typical, say, a real estate sale or any other product. Moving on to the next part of your question is, okay, what is the size of this market? Who are the people who buy? If you look at as a global metric, so typically anywhere between 6 to 12% of people above the age of 60 would buy into a senior living or a retirement home, right? Wow. So India has 130 million elders. Maybe that's not an accurate estimate, but India easily has 40-50 lakh elders who are actively seeking a solution like this. And if you have to talk about specific numbers, a lot of reports have been released by PwC, JLL, CII, which peg the formal demand for homes for elders currently at about 4 lakh units. And the current supply is about 20,000 units. So there is a large supply-demand mismatch at the moment.
So, who are the other players who are doing this beyond, you guys? Is this like a market where a lot of new players are kind of coming in?
Absolutely. I think wherever there is opportunity, we will see a lot of competition. And the right competition is great for the industry, right? We want people who can come in and show what is caring for elders, who can improve health span. What we need to be wary of are people who are looking to make money on the real estate side, saying, okay, here's a house that instead of selling it at maybe a crore, I'll sell it at a crore and 20 lakhs, and then I have nothing to do with you. Those are the dangerous type of players that hopefully shouldn't enter this business, right? But more number of people who give care is great for the industry. So currently, if you have to talk about multi-city developers and operators, there are about 3-4 of us. Of course, we are there in about 6 cities in India, and there is Ashiana, which is based out of Delhi. There's also Antara, which is again based out of Delhi, and then down south we have Columbia Pacific Communities, and we have Paranjpe, which is out of Pune. So these are currently the significant players, but there are a lot of good players as well, who are doing great work in different parts of the country.
So you penetrated this market, fairly early. Now people are really talking about, senior living, senior care. So how did that, happen? How did you identify or envision that there could be a gap and the demand could really kind of, surge?
I mean, I don't think I should get any credit for that. I'll tell you how I started this business, right? So I'm from Bangalore, born and brought up, thorough Bangalorean, a proud one at that. And like all educated South Indian families, my grandmom had 11 siblings, okay? And again, like all educated South Indian families, all of her siblings' kids are in the US, except obviously my dad and I. And whenever they used to come home, they used to be like, hey, you know what? My kids are calling me back to the US saying that there's something great for older people. It's called retirement home. I don't want to go, it's cold, and I don't know anybody else there. And they used to come and complain, and they used to say, hey, you have a son, you have a grandson, they're both here. You wouldn't know. And then one day my grandmom called me and she said, hey, you keep saying that you want to do something different and something meaningful. Why don't you build these homes for my sisters? And it's to her credit, I should say, that I started this business.
Oh, wow.
So at that point in time, I took a sabbatical. I was building out other things. And I took about 2 months off. I just got on a plane. I went all around the world to go and visit these communities. I went to the US because that's the biggest market. Started at Florida, went to Shell Point, which is a 1,800 acre, one of the largest retirement communities in the world. Then all the way to Los Angeles, where all the retired Hollywood stars are there in a community that's run by Belmont, and which is right on the, I think, Rodeo Drive. I'm not sure of the correct location. And then I realized, okay, the American model may not be appropriate for India. So then I flew to countries in Europe. I went to Japan, where you have 100-story buildings, small 300 square feet houses. The family culture is similar. And that's how I came back and I started Primus. And we were in fact the first people in the country to do a for lease model, because at that point in time, I was pretty convinced that lease is the way to go, because why would a 70 or 80-year-old want to buy a house? I was wrong about that. And now we have pivoted to doing a sale model. But yeah, that's the journey of how I started. So I don't think I deserve any credit for thinking ahead of time. The only thing is I felt like it's a business that has impact. It's a business that will give me a lot of satisfaction, and we solve a real problem. Making profits is of course important in business, but if you are in a position where you solve a real problem and get satisfaction, I think that's just amazing.
And what is the most difficult thing, to manage when you're running these, businesses? Because this is not like a regular real estate sale. There is an expectation of service, the elders would, kind of have. So what has been the most difficult thing?
So actually, that's what I thought too when I started. I thought, oh my God, serving the same person every day is so hard. Like a hotel serves a new person every day, and if a customer is painful, you know that person is leaving in X number of days. We are serving the same resident for life. But you know what, Swati? Actually, we deal with the most grateful set of people in the world. So people like you and me are more likely to be ungrateful, and we take things for granted, and we feel entitled to stuff. And in my experience, I've found that the elders are extremely grateful. So when I go to my community, when my team is part of the community, since we are solving a real problem for them, they actually give so much of love and blessings. It's amazing. The harder part is to train our team to be able to understand aging and to be able to understand how to cater to an elder, because most of the people that we could get in the market are either from the healthcare sector, the facility management sector, or from the hospitality sector. And we are an intersection of all of this. We are not any one of it. So we need to get the right pieces of it together to give great service. Because, for example, let me talk about housekeeping. A person from a hotel would be trained to finish cleaning a house in a certain amount of time. And that person would be trained to use certain type of liquids. The focus is on quality of cleaning. With me, the focus is on quality of relationship with my resident. So when that person goes in, I expect them to know everything about my resident. Their grandchild's favorite chocolate, the lady of the house, whether she likes Lysol or Harpic, whether she likes her pillows to be kept as diamond or a square. That person needs to know that. And by the way, if you're not super great at your job, maafi, we are okay with that. But if you're not good at knowing my customer, you don't have a place in my organization. So we would never refer to units by their number. You will not find my team saying A301. They'll probably tell the resident's name. So the whole training is very different, and the whole thought process is very different.
So how have you really trained your team to do this? Because I run a service business myself. I think customer delight, customer experience is the most difficult thing to kind of, pass on from one person to another. I personally love what Tatas have kind of done. So if you go to any Taj property, they just make you feel, very, very, good. So how have you kind of, done this?
That's a great question. So, like I said, the first set of team, because there is no pre-existing senior living or retirement communities here, they were all kind of trained by me initially, because I spent time around the world in understanding this. And then we created a handover team. So we essentially have a set of people who go to every project for pre-opening. They spend 6 months there, and then they hand over the project to the local team, and then they move on to the next one. And as we are growing this business, we are adding more and more of such teams, which is what we call a handover team, who are trained in our culture, who are trained in our thought process of how to give care. I'll give you a few examples. I give you an example of how we do housekeeping. I'll tell you an example of how we handled food. Because India is essentially 25 countries in one country, right? The sambar in Tamil Nadu and the sambar here are not exactly the same. And the people's expectation is, I want my mother's food or I want my wife's food, right? Typically. So earlier we used to have these large spreads of North Indian, South Indian, 3 types of sabji, 3 types of gravy, 3 of this, etc., etc. And we didn't get great customer feedback. So now what we have started to do is we have 2 to 3 versions of the same dish. So if it's a dal, we'll have a bina tadka wala dal and with a tadka wala dal. Then you'll have, if it's a rice, you'll have 3 types of rice. One very viscous rice, one brown rice, one white rice. And then if it's a palak paneer, we'd have 2 types of base gravy, and the paneer will be tossed based on who's in front of you, because we are serving the same customer for life. So my chef, my team understands everybody's particular requirement, and we kind of narrow it down like that. So within one dish, they're able to find their taste. And that's worked very well for us. And we have a 95% F&B subscription, which I think is the highest in the industry at the moment.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you would have also studied aging very deeply. Anything? So I think our audience also would be relatively younger folks, working in corporate world, but someday, they will also age. So anything that you would like to talk about, aging, or proactively thinking about, your aging, so that you can have a healthier, lifespan?
Well, maybe your audience won't like this, but as India, we are trained to unfortunately kill our parents, right? When I say kill our parents, we have all been taught to be reverent. We have all been told that, elders are right. If you see an elder, touch their feet, take their blessings. But have you asked, do they want reverence or do they want relevance? So if anybody who studies aging and who understands elders will tell you the right answer is relevance, the right answer is independence, the right answer is sense of agency. What elders love is to be independent, to feel self-sufficient. No elderly person loves to be dependent on their kids. And as children, we have been taught that the way to show love is to go and serve our parents. I'll give you an example. Let's say that a person is in early stage of dementia. The first thing is we are not trained to understand that a person is in an early stage of dementia. Now we are good kids. What does a good kid do? They'll call up the best nursing agency. They'll say, hey, I'm the best kid in the world. Give me the most expensive nurse you have because I'm the best kid in the world. And they will send this nurse. And this nurse will be doing what? What is the training of this nurse? This person will say, don't sit, don't stand up. I will feed you. I will bathe you. I will clean you. Now this person from stage 1 of dementia has gone to stage 5 of dementia before you know it. And it's beyond control. This could apply to just any situation. Because the nurse is not, the idea of the nurse itself is, I'm a good nurse if I do everything for this person. Yeah. No, you're not a good nurse. Make this person, you say, get up, go have a bath, I'm here if you need me. I'm not going to come and give you a bath because I'm a well-trained nurse. Similarly, if I'm a well-trained child, my idea of love for my parents should be to make them independent, to make sure that they are using their mind, to make sure that they're meaningfully engaged, to make sure they're physically active. We don't do any of that. We have been told, now dad is old or mom is old, I have given a nurse, I have given a cook, I am an amazing kid. No, sorry, you're the worst kid in the world. Because unfortunately, your idea of love is misguided by lack of education or by conditioning of society. We have been conditioned to think like this. It is unfortunately wrong. What we need to do is tell our parents, listen, you have to do your own things. Okay, we'll make you travel, we'll make you read, you have to be physically active, you need to get out of the house, you need to cook. Once in a week, if you clean the house, nothing is going to happen. It's, by the way, extremely good for you. Now tell me how many Indians will be ready to tell their parents, you clean your house today. Do you know any?
No, not really. And I also feel that sometimes, so if you are working, if you, both husband and wife, both of you are working, you barely have time for your parents. So you always thing you have is money for your parents. And that's how you spoil your parents, because you can't give them time. You just want to keep giving them, maids and, a lot of luxury so that they don't, really move.
Yes, that is the guilt that's manifesting in ways that are not helping the parents. Yeah. And it's not because of lack of love. I think everybody loves their parents. They're very grateful for being brought up and given an opportunity. But they're misguided in their education about what to do for their parents. And this is not something that the elder knows themselves either. Even they will tell, my son is or my daughter is so good, they give me a driver, they give me a maid, they give me a nurse. It's only because we don't understand what makes us age faster. I'll give you some examples. Can you tell me a category of people as a profession who age the slowest?
Who age the slowest? Maybe back office people, I don't know.
So the answer is politicians.
Oh, really?
You tell me.
Right?
Yeah,
that's
look
true.
At our Prime Minister at his age.
Yeah.
Look at what's happening in the American elections. Look at Mr. Devegowda, for example, at his age. Now, my view on this is only from an aging lens. I have zero political affiliations of any sort. What I'm trying to say is that if you look at why politicians live so long, and now let me circle back to the principles of Ikigai. Do they have a high sense of purpose? Definitely. They want to be in power. They want to make sure that they're on top of their game. Are they physically active? Yeah, they're going, addressing people, attending rallies. Are they mentally active? Most certainly. They're thinking of who's going to defeat them, how do I stay in power, so on and so forth. Are they surrounded by community? Yes. So except maybe interacting with nature, they have all the other principles of Ikigai. And they're on top of their health. They have somebody always looking at all their reports and their charts because they need to be active. Now, take this and look at another person. Let's assume this hypothetical person who's highly educated, retired from a super great job from the corporate or from the government, gets a buttload of pension, now watches TV 8 hours a day and sends WhatsApp. That's all they are doing because they are maid, cook, driver, the luxury life. Who do you think is going to live longer?
The politician.
Yeah. Now think of the same thing for people in your life. When COVID happened and you didn't see your elders or people around you for a while, and then after COVID you saw these people, and you would have seen that a group of people look exactly the same, and a group of people have aged 5 years in 1 year. And then you go and ask these questions, or you observe their lifestyle. And this is the key. People need to follow the principles of Ikigai. People need to be on top of their health. We cannot solve for anything after the event has happened, right? If we do not control diabetes earlier, there's very little that we can do. If we can't catch cancer in stage 1, there's very little we can do. And that is just so important. And we delay all of this. If I tell you, Swati, that I can reduce the chance of somebody falling by 95% by putting them on a certain fall management plan that we do in our own communities, but it costs money month on month or week on week, versus going for a knee replacement or a hip replacement surgery, which may cost lakhs. Unfortunately, people are okay and to go and pay lakhs to a hospital, but they are not okay to pay a few thousand rupees every month to make sure they never have to go to a hospital. Again, it goes back to education level, and it goes back to lack of understanding. If I asked you what are the top 2 reasons for early mortality in elders, what would your answer be?
Diabetes and heart attacks.
Right? That's what we're conditioned to believe.
Yeah.
So the number 1 reason for death in elders is actually loneliness. And the number 2 reason is falls. How many stories do we know of somebody who fell in the bathroom and then they were bedridden and then they didn't make it? Or they fell in the bathroom, they were bedridden for months together and then they passed on. So all of this can be prevented. You don't have to have people fall in the bathroom. You need the right infrastructure. You need the safe bathroom. You need to know your body in terms of how much weight you're putting on what leg, what is your hip integrity, what is your joint integrity. You need the right footwear, you need the right lighting conditions. We have brought down falls in our own community by 97%.
Oh, wow.
Similarly, loneliness again is a disease we don't understand. Our view is, unless there is this picture of an old person in a dark, dingy bungalow all by themselves, only that person is lonely. You can be lonely in a group of friends. You can be lonely amidst your own family. We don't understand. Because again, we have been told that to love our parents, you should keep them in your own house and you should give them a nurse. That unfortunately isn't solving for loneliness.
How did you guys solve for loneliness?
Community. Same. So all of the Ikigai principles takes away loneliness, mental activity, physical activity, purpose, everything takes away loneliness. If I wake up every morning and I have something to accomplish for the day, where is the time to be lonely and bored? So all of it takes away. Community by default solves for loneliness.
So as I'm thinking aloud, I think I have 2 small kids, and every time I try and make them independent, I would rather have them think. So if my daughter has to climb, from year to year, I would not support. I would just be behind her so that she can, build her skills. So as I'm thinking, as you are kind of having this conversation with me, I think the same principles we should apply to our parents, as well. Just be around and let them do things.
Yeah. So I think the word nowadays is a lawnmower parent, right? Where you clear the way for your kids and then everything is solved before they get to that point.
Yeah.
I think the same approach is needed for our elders. We don't have to be lawnmower kids for our parents. Our parents know way more than us and they can figure things out much better. We don't need to be there in every step of the way, to solve problems for them. It's good if they solve their own problems. I can guarantee you that they live a better quality of life and they will live for longer.
So what is your vision for Primus in the next 3 to 5 years? How are you envisaging it to grow?
Right. So one of the things that we learned is we started in Bangalore, then we went to Chennai, Pune. So kind of, although we didn't really plan it, we went from south to north. And one of our key learnings was that as we transitioned from south to north, this perception that we are an old age home or a vridhashram was getting louder and louder. And then along the way, because we kept listening to our customers, one of the things that came out strongly was that, hey, we love this idea, but we would love to be part of a larger community where we can have our kids next door and we can see some young kids and youngsters and stuff like that. So what we did is we have pivoted our business now to doing intergenerational housing or multi-generational housing. So we have pioneered this in India. We're the first ones where we build senior living as part of larger communities. So picture like a 5-10 tower housing complex, right? And if 1 or 2 towers were for elders and the rest of it was for youngsters, now families can live together but apart. So I call this the nuclear joint family. And I think this is how new India will live. Because today all of us, we love our parents and our parents love us back. But the social fabric may not allow us to live under the same roof in terms of expectations. Second thing is our parents don't want us to be, don't want to only be nannies to our kids. They want to have their own life. They want to travel. They want to enjoy. They want their wife to retire. The new thing is now the women are saying, okay, this dude retired. What about me? I don't want to cook and clean for the rest of my life, right? So all of these people now seek convenience. So this multi-generational or intergenerational has worked out really well, wherein the parents and the in-laws can stay in this tower, and then the rest of the family stays in the other towers. And now we started curating activities for grandparents and grandkids. So it's worked out, it just happened organically, but it's worked out very well for us.
Oh, interesting.
And this is the model that, I think for the next few years, we will grow this business.
You're also running a business, wherein there is a lot of feelings attached to what the service that you're really providing. So, any anecdotes, any experiences that you would want to, share?
Oh, lots and lots of experiences. So I think when I talk to my team, I tell them we are in the business of expectation management. Okay, A. B, and when we recruit people, we have a scale that says, okay, how much is your patience from 0 to 10? And we say 50% of your salary is for your work, 50% of your salary is for your patience level.
Wow.
Right?
How do you judge the patience level?
So we have a bunch of psychometric tests that kind of throw up those numbers, because we are dealing with the same person for life, like I told you. So the training of that is very different. And when it comes to, sorry, can you just repeat? I just lost my train of thought. What was your question?
So my question was, there is a lot of feelings attached, to your business. So any anecdotes, any stories that you would like to share?
So I think 2-3 stories come to my mind. When I said expectation management, we had this general who's retired, and then he moved into our community, and he's a general, right? So he's used to everything at at the click of a button or his finger. And then he came to our manager and said, listen, I wake up at 4:45 in the morning. At 4:48, I need somebody to come and tie my shoe when I get on from my bed.
Oh shit.
And we're like, sorry, we don't do that here, right? So things like this are very common because there is an expectation that we will do everything. But like I told you, we are in the business of making our elders independent. We don't even want them to be dependent on us, right? We are here to take away the stressful activities of life so they can focus on their passion. Don't cook, don't clean, don't worry about your health. वो सब हम देखेंगे. Don't worry about entertainment.
So how did you manage this general?
We told him, listen, this is not a military site, right? Outside of your experience, you're a civilian here, and the rules apply to everybody. And these are things that we can't do, and we refuse to do it. And if you need to blend well into civil society again, these are some of the things you'll have to figure out. You can't order people around here. You give respect, you get respect, right? And again, these are sensitivity training we give for our staff, even for our elders. Because, it is, service businesses have its own challenges. But our team also gets a lot of, again, one of the good things about Indian conditioning is a lot of people believe that because they're serving elders, they're getting blessings.
Yeah.
So they're getting a salary and they're getting blessings. They're like, "Arey yaar, aur kya chahiye life mein?" So we try to, find people who fit into that thought process. And when I recruit our team more at a leadership level, I always look for a personal journey around caring for the elderly. Because we need that something extra that keeps them in this sector versus anywhere else. Money is a motivation, no question about it. We will pay top dollar. But there needs to be something that's on the table beyond the money.
So any good experiences that you can share, because I'm sure there would be a lot of families and elders who would come to you saying that, look, you're doing a great, job. So any life transformational experiences that the elders would have had staying in your
of course,
community?
we have tons of them. For example, when COVID happened and when COVID ended, that's when elders realized and children of elders realized that they can't leave their parents in a house with nobody else in it. And then demand for our projects skyrocketed and we had nothing to sell. And whatever we had left, got taken up. And we had this couple from Delhi and the lady was almost in like last stages because of COVID, and she was on a ventilator and she was brought in literally in an ambulance. And the doctors pretty much said that this person is, not going to be able to move. And within 60 days, we had her dancing, and she models now every
Wow.
year. We have a fashion show every year across our projects, and she's one of our top models now, and
Wow.
she's leading an absolutely healthy life. We have had so many cases of people who came in on a wheelchair who are fully active again, because we are working on their health with physiotherapy. We are working on each of their we are working to strengthen each of their body parts. We have had people who have learned French. So there's this gentleman called Mr. Shank Srinivas. He's 95 now, and he came in, of course, when he was 86, no, 89, and he said, "Hey, Adarsh, my dream is to learn French," and he learned French online, and he's teaching French now to people in India online.
Oh, wow.
So we have hundreds of such stories. These are just some of the top two that's coming to my mind. So mostly a lot of people who said, no, my husband never gets out of the house. So we have seen that, by the way, we have seen one thing, which is again a little controversial, but now I can tell you through data that the daughters care more for their parents than the sons.
Okay.
All right. So if I talk to my managers, if I look at who has inquired, and if we do a deep dive into the data, it's always a daughter who's calling my manager. It's always a daughter who's calling my doctor. It's always a daughter who's the first point of inquiry. So I think for all the beautiful daughters out there, they should give themselves a pat on the back, because data says that they love their parents more, and they're certainly more concerned about their parents.
Nice, interesting.
And that let me extend that also applies to women who live in our community. So I don't know the reason for it, but my guess is because they were just tied down in terms of house, taking care of the house, and this is like a new breath of life. We have seen that the women are far more participative in community activities. They cherish every moment, and they're generally much more active, and they take up and consume all of our services, generally compared to the men. And also Indian women live longer and they outlive their men. So one of the advantages of living in a community is whenever that period of grief happens, moving on is a lot easier than being left isolated without a community.
So women are also conditioned to be caregiver,
Yeah.
at least
In
people
that
of our and
generation.
previous generation.
Yes,
Let's see
yes.
how it transforms to the next generation, because there is where the conditioning is slightly changing, and also women are better in multitasking as well.
Absolutely. So I think now we are doing more of our targeting to women, and later we'll have to do to both of them.
So how do you market? So what is your customer acquisition, strategy? Because your TG is very, very different. So would you market to, the kids, or would you market to the senior citizens? Who are the decision makers?
This is a very interesting insight. We also thought that the kids are the one who's going to pay for it, or they're the ones who are going to be uh, making this decision. But I can tell you through data that 95% of my elders are self-funded. They find out, they are interested, they inquire, they pay for it. The children typically act as approvers. So they would search online, find out about our reviews, ratings, talk to one or two people who are living in our community, and then they'd guide their parents, okay, you know what, this is okay for you guys to move in. So this is how it has worked for us. And our customer act is somewhat similar to real estate, but our below the line activities are very different. So other than doing the digital marketing and newspaper and hoardings and stuff like that, we typically hold education conferences in every city before we launch. So we talk about what a retirement community does in terms of lifestyle, in terms of health. It's just an educative session. It's not necessarily to push the product. And we also participate in a lot of below the line activities where elders are present. It could be a classical dance program, it could be a satsang, it could be a yoga session, it could be anything. But yeah, typically we plug ourselves into ecosystems where elders would congregate.
How have you evolved as a person running this business? Because look, while you're running a business which generates profit, you're also running a business which is very, very sensitive and feeling, oriented. So how has that helped you as a human being?
I think the first thing is it helped me be a better child to my parents. I, like all Indians, also had this misconception about aging, where I used to stop my parents from doing anything. Like I forced my mom to stop driving, which in hindsight was an extremely stupid decision that I took. But with my own education going up about aging, I think I'm able to be a better child for my parents. That's the first thing. The second thing is, uh, as I do more of this business, I'm very clear now about what my purpose is in life. So I think I found my ikigai.
What
I
is your
found.
purpose in life?
I'm very clear. I want to impact 5 million elders in a positive way in the next decade.
Wow.
And I'm figuring out how I can do that.
Wow.
Because, this is a business. If you do regular real estate, for example, and let's say you build this house or whatever, bunch of houses, you finish it and hand it over to the youngsters. And then as a person in real estate, you go there after completion. I can almost guarantee you there's no gratitude. If anything, they'll be waiting with, chappals.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So, there is no satisfaction in being the person who delivered that. Now, exactly the same thing in a scenario of elder care. When I go to my community, I am just showered with love and blessing, because elders are way more grateful than younger people, and elders actually live their life, and they are not, unlike what we have been conditioned to think. Oh, they're always cribbing. They're none of that. They're loving their life. They're living their life, and they're so grateful that we have provided them. We have also done a business, right? They could have looked at it in the lens of a youngster. Not one person will look at it like that, which is why it's such a satisfying business to do, and it just boosts the purpose that I have to do a lot more.
How often, do you go to these communities and meet the elders?
So, not as much as I want to, but as a schedule, I go once a quarter. But I do show up once in a while unannounced to make sure that we are up to the mark when they don't know, when my team doesn't know that I'm coming.
And what are the typical complaints that you would get from these elders?
Oh, so typically it would be around food. That's probably the one where, it was too spicy, it was too salty, this is not the way that my channa is, or this is not the way to make a rasam. So mostly a lot around food. And I think the second thing is around lifestyle of their neighbors. If somebody is playing tabla, it's very little that I can do to stop that at a certain time, or things like that. So minor things. But if I have to categorize the top 2, 3, it's mostly around food, but less around medical, simply because we have a very robust medical team. But yeah, mostly food and sometimes housekeeping, because a lot of elders are very particular about how their house should be. So yeah, typically those.
So how big do you think this market, will become in the next 10 years? And what are the other ancillary opportunities which one can think in the senior living space?
That's a great question. So I think intergenerational or multi-generational is going to be a mainstream opportunity. The additional fact that the service layer is there on top of the real estate layer. So let's assume in the intergenerational, we are already giving medical services, food services, concierge services, event management services, and common area maintenance. We open it up on a pay per use for the rest of the community. So hypothetically, if you were living in one of these projects, even if your cook doesn't show up, you can come and eat in our restaurant. You can order something from our restaurant. And if your maid doesn't come, you can ask for a housekeeping team. So that convenience, I think, is going to become a norm. It's not yet a norm, but the focus is going to move as real estate gets productized, which it more or less is. I think the differentiators are going to be quality of services. So I look at it as a mainstream product and as a big piece of the housing market, right? Even if you take away the housing market and you just look at elder care, like I told you, there's a demand for 4 lakh units, and there's a projection that there's going to go to 40 lakh units. So we're looking at a massive opportunity when it comes to senior living. There's also larger opportunity is to plug into the aging ecosystem, right? Because we are one of the older players. Now we have lots of people reaching out to us and saying, hey, age tech is the new word. We are launching an age tech fund. We are doing this fund. We are doing that fund. We want to solve for the next generation of elders. And I think it's a great opportunity. If you think about it, unlike our youngsters, elders have zero debt. They have a pile of money sitting in their bank in FDs, not even in the markets. They are unwilling to spend because they have not found an avenue that they see value in. If we can showcase value, people will spend. They are paying me 30,000 rupees a month. If you told me 10 years back that go and find hundreds of elders who will pay 30,000 a month, most people would have said, boss, old people are not paying. Right? We have proved them wrong.
Yeah.
Similarly, I think if you provide value, they will most certainly pay. So I can think of thousands of opportunities everywhere, right? Making homes safe for elders in terms of being technology driven from a health point of view. giving services to elders in their own house, solving for engagement, solving for loneliness, solving for falls, solving for caregiving, solving just about every aspect of it, like e-commerce for elders. There's just so much to do. I think any way that you can plug in to either the child of the elder or the elder and see where they're currently spending their money and how you can be part of that ecosystem, I think is a massive opportunity.
So, Adarsh, एक चीज which I face in my family is that look, it is easy to say that keep elders active. It is easy to say that have them in the community, etc., etc. But that also depends in terms of how open they are, and it is not very easy to make people open at that age. So, what do you guys do for that?
That's a great question. Let me answer this with a story. You all know the eagle, right? So an eagle typically lives for about 30 years, right? But there is a whole set of eagles within that group who live for 70 years, right?
Oh.
They've added another 30, 40 years to their life. And this is what the eagles do, right? Those set of eagles that live longer, they actually fly out to a mountaintop. And so eagles, when they get to the age of 30, the reason that they die is their beak gets blunt from all the hunting and eating. Their claws get blunt from the hunting and their feathers get weak because of overuse. And now the eagles that live longer, they go up to a mountaintop, they beat their beak on a rock until it falls off. Then a new beak grows. Then with this beak, they pull out their claws. Then new claws grow.
Oh, wow.
With those claws, they pull out their feathers and new feathers grow.
Oh, wow.
Now they are a brand new eagle that then lives for 30 more years. So this process takes about 4 to 6 months time when the eagle is away in some place that it can't be hunted down and killed. And this is the way that our elders need to reinvent themselves. They need to start questioning, is this good for me? Right? Eating this much dessert, is it good for me? Not having any exercise, is it good for me? The kids need to look at it like this, that are we ready to undergo a transformation to improve our life? So I think everybody should think of the eagle and look at the hardship that the eagle went through to then give 30 more years, right? So if you give 6 months of time, you're getting 30 more years. So I think if elders give themselves time and make incremental changes, I think health span can significantly go up. But it requires a lot of reset in the mind.
So I think the reset also living in a community would be happening because if there are two people who are resetting themselves, automatically the three people who are not open will be drawn towards that. Do you see that as well?
100%. And that happens to all of us, doesn't it? If we're in a group of people and there is a hero in our group, we directly or indirectly emulate that hero, and that happens with every set of people. So if a person is looking young, fit, active, you're like, okay, what is this person doing? I want to be like this person.
I asked you the same thing the moment you came. So are you into fitness?
Yeah, so it is, it's always that one or two people that lead their group. Yeah.
So this is also one of the advantage of living in a senior living community.
Yeah, you're not going by the lowest common denominator, but you're going by the best, and everybody's incrementally getting pushed to being better, looking at the best.
Any last message that you have for our audience?
Well, my only message is please uncondition yourselves from believing that we are the super person to our parents. We are not. And our job, contrary to what we are conditioned to think, is to make our parents independent. They should not be dependent on us. That is only making us feel better. It's not making them feel better. So whatever we can do to make them independent, and the big Ikigai philosophy and the proactive health. I can't emphasize enough on proactive health. I think every child needs to insist their parents get a whole bunch of tests done. I'm happy to give you a link of what those tests should be, which you can annex, so that people know that these are the tests that they need to run quarterly, semi-annually and annually, which would help them find things that are wrong, wherein we can give it a solve as opposed to managing symptoms. I think that's something that's super important. And then you need to always be asking, is our dad and mom physically active? Are they mentally active? Do they have friends around them? What can we do to give them this? How do we give them purpose? I think if they solve for these, that's the way to show love to our parents. And again, remember, it's not giving respect and touching their feet. It's about making them independent and making them feel like they did things on their own. That's what is going to give them health span. Lifespan we will buy, but that's out, in debate whether that's the best for them.
Thank you so much, Adarsh. I think this episode is special to me because in some way you have taught me how I should think about my parents personally at home. So thank you so much. Thanks for coming and spending time with us.
Thank you, Swati. Thanks for having me here.